Hello, I'm Reverend Dr. Jeffrey Goodine, and this is the Daily Message. Got my trusted electronic device, and I got my notes. The title today is a little tough one. When a child dies. When a child dies. And the scripture is taken from 2 Samuel chapter 12, verses 16 to 23. 2 Samuel can be found in the Old Testament. If you're looking in the New Testament, you're looking in the wrong place. If you can't find it, look in your table of content and you will see the book of 2 Samuel. 2 Samuel chapter 12. 2 Samuel chapter 12, starting at verse 16. And I'll be reading from the NIV. David pleaded with God for the child. He fasted and spent the night lying in sackcloth on the ground. The elders of his household stood beside him to get up from the ground, but he refused, and he would not eat any food with them. On the seventh day, the child died. David's attendants were afraid to tell him that the child was dead, for they thought, while the child was still alive, he wouldn't listen to us when we spoke to him. How can we now tell him the child is dead? He may do something desperate. David noticed that his attendants were whispering among themselves, and he realized the child was dead. Is the child dead? He asked. Yes, they replied. He is dead. David got up from the ground after he had washed, put on lotion, and changed his clothes. He went into the house of the Lord and worshiped. Then he went to his own house, and at his request, they served him food, and he ate. His attendants asked him, "Why are you acting this way? While the child was alive, you fasted and wept. But now the child is dead, you get up and eat." He answered, "While the child was still alive, I fasted and wept. I thought, who knows? The Lord may be gracious to me and let the child live. But now that he is dead, why should I go on fasting? Can I bring him back again? I will go to him, but he will not return to me." If you notice in the story, this is David. When he had the woman's husband killed, he got her pregnant, had a child. The child died. God took the child from him. And that's a very familiar story in the Bible with David. But what happens when a child dies? I mean, I know some people out here that, they buried their children. But some of them buried very small children, babies. What happens then? Well, I want to read something to you. People who lose a child want assurance that their little one is safe in the arms of God. The Bible is not explicit about what happens to those who are too young to make a proclamation of faith. However, the Lord's mercy upon them becomes clear as we study His Word. Over the years, many people have credited unbiblical explanations for what happens to children who die. There are those who argue that salvation is available to some, but not to others, which is scripturally untrue. Also unsupportable is a more complicated theory that God uses His foreknowledge to determine whether a child who dies will enter heaven or hell. The idea is that He rescues those who He knows would have grown up and been saved, but He rejects the rest. What terrible uncertainty that would mean for family members left behind. God doesn't keep people guessing. What His Word teaches is that during the early years of life, a child does not know how to choose good from evil, and therefore isn't held responsible for his moral conduct. Accordingly, when a little one departs from life, the Lord is waiting with open arms. This theology makes biblical sense, given the Father's character, desires, and plan. Until a child is mature enough to decide about whether to serve the Lord, he or she is safe from divine judgment. Our just and loving God does not punish children for being too young to grasp their need for a Savior. Believers join their departed loved ones in heaven. So when a child dies, that child has not made the proclamation of faith. The child has not accepted Jesus Christ as their Savior. In fact, they probably don't even know. So understandably, they are in God's care. They're not held accountable to the standard that we are, that know good and evil. So for those that have lost a child, for those that know others that have lost a child, rest assured that that child was too young to proclaim the Savior, and God knows that. That child was too young. He didn't know the difference between right and wrong, had not proclaimed Jesus Christ as their Savior because they're too young. So in the story today about David and that child was too young to know. But God was waiting on him with open arms. So rest assured that when a child dies, before they make the proclamation, before they're old enough to accept Jesus Christ as their Savior, then God has them in his arms. Rest assured that God has the little children in his arms. I'm Reverend Dr. Jeffrey Goodine, pastor of Church and Will Spoken Word out of Orange City, Florida, and this has been the Daily Message. Thank you.